DJ Apex.
Peace to you people.
And we're going to talk about how did he first get into collecting albums and the importance of legacy, how you maintain the legacy of these artists who went before us. And so I'm asking a couple questions about this, and I'm sure it's going to be an enjoyable experience. So when did you start first collecting?
Drake, as I get older, the memory kind of fades a little bit, but I think I started around 13. And it wasn't a direct thing. It wasn't something that I just started doing directly. Like I just started going to record shops. It just came from being around my parents. Mm-hmm. My parents partied in the 80s, like probably, I imagine, a lot of my parents. You know, they had house parties. I was just constantly around the music. I could hear it in the background. You know, seeing the people dance. And I just, as I got older, just magically found my dad's record collection. So I think that was around 13. And my curious bug just went through the roof. And I just started listening to his records on his record player. I started even pulling out some of his reels and playing those. And I haven't looked back since.
Wait, man. You was actually playing, listening to real music?
Yeah.
Talking about classics.
You know, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it just, I think seeing how my dad back then valued it sort of made me value it because he was kind of a little reluctant to me even touching them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think after a while he saw I was drawn to it. I think he felt a little more comfortable with me. It wasn't just something that I was just gonna smash and tear up. I think after a while he realized it was something I valued.
Right.
And so then he kind of let me put my hands on a little bit, and then it just started there. And then I just, even though the music was light years ahead of me, I just still was, I gravitated to it.
Right, spins your mind.
Yeah. You know, and that's the blessing that I have. I thank my parents for that. And I think it just comes from me being exposed to their house parties and the energy and the vibe that they brought when we lived in Gastonia. That's what I found in the music.
You just reminded me of something. I remember growing up, my stepfather had a collection of 8 tracks, and I remember peeling back the label off of a Rick James 8-track cassette and seeing what's his name, Sean Cassidy under. I'm like, man, they were recycling 8 tracks.
You know, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Like Sean Cassidy up under
Rick
James.
Everything under the sun has already been done. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Like, they couldn't sell the Sean Cassidy, so they had to go with the Rick.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I get it, man, and that's to me. That I don't know, just the curiosity, man. It just, I don't know. It was such a soulful sound. I can't even really articulate it really. It's just something that just pulled me. And I was always into percussion, so I gravitated to drums and congos a little bit more so before I started getting into soul music. Soul music came a little later for me, but it was just those drums that started out for me early.
When you say soul, which type of soul? That more button up, conservative soul like Motown, or soul more along the lines of gritty country southern stacks?
For me it worked backwards. I got into the later 70s stuff, like even with Stevie Wonder. I got into his later stuff and even like the early 80s stuff before I got into his 60s stuff.
Right.
And I think when I got into the 60s stuff, that's what prompted me to get into Motown. And to get into some of those other 45s.
Work your way back.
That's kind of what happened with me. Even for some people, they got into record collecting through hip hop. It didn't necessarily happen like that for me. It came directly from my parents' parties and just hearing the music then. And then I took a diverted route to hip hop, so to speak.
Yeah, I see.
Like for some people it was like, oh, hip hop. I heard about these samples.
Right.
Let me find them. Like that.
Digging in the crates.
Yeah, like that part, it didn't happen for me quite like that. It just was, I just liked the music, man. That might have happened a couple of years later, the relationship I built with hip hop and crate digging. It might have either been Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, or Diamond D. One of those albums, because my parents had the particular record that was sampled.
Okay.
And I lost my damn mind.
Diamond D had a record label literally called Digging the Crates.
Or
was it an album?
I think we know that there was a production unit.
That's what it was called.
Yeah, Digging in the Crates. Yeah. What was that first album? Blunt Stunts and Hip Hop.
Yeah, I remember.
That was the one. Yeah.
Classic. Yeah.
And I just remember recognizing the sample playing the record, and lost my damn mind. And so that just after that, then it was like, let's see if I can find this Beatnut sample. Let's see if I can find this other Tribe sample, and then Gangstar, blah blah blah. Because that was back when Premier, before sample clearance bull crap, Premier's samples were a lot longer.
Right.
Before he got into the shorter, choppier. So
that's funny because Biz Markie actually had an album called Samples Clear. All Samples Clear or something like that.
You know, and that's what I think, you know, I don't think it was just one particular event, but that was like one of the events that led to guys trying to get sneaky with sample clearance. It was like, because you remember what happened with MF Doomsday. You know, so that sample clearance thing became, and then you had break record cats that was constantly snitching, you know, so then you had that part. And I even remember hearing stories, I don't know how accurate it is, I even remember hearing stories where lawyers were hiring people for these artists and companies to go out and find, you know.
I think that was, I think James Brown had people doing that, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember reading something about that. Because, I mean, his day, I mean, everything was simple.
Everything.
So, I mean, it's like,
everything.
Just pull a song, you know what I mean? Like, it's James Brown.
Yeah.
Beat probably, so.
And while we talk about James Brown, it was the Beatnuts that I remember that inspired me to look for other things other than typical Southern funk. Because I remember listening to some of those Beatnut samples and was thinking, where the hell is this? What is the sound? Because, like you just said, for so long, hip hop grew up sampling James Brown, like forward, backwards. You know,
especially the early days. I mean,
yeah. Wow. So Beatnuts, for me, if I can remember correctly, that was the hip hop group that really put me on to jazz fusion samples and other little genres. And I'm sure there's some other groups out there too, but Beatnuts is the one group that really comes to my mind that really opened the door for me in terms of other genres, other styles of funk, West Coast, East Coast, Europe, you know, and all of that. And I remember finding some of those European samples that Beatnuts had and completely lost my mind. And it just made me realize that hip-hop and crate digging was never going to go anywhere because no one person would ever own every piece of music.
Right, exactly. It's infinite.
It's infinite. It's infinite. And that's the beauty of it. You know, you can put me, Gene Brown, Giles Peterson, Ed Motor together, and we still wouldn't have not nearly every record that's ever been produced.
Not even scratching the surface. Right?
Not even scratching the surface. You know, and then that's the other part I like about traveling. You get exposed to certain stuff that the likelihood of you finding in your own neighborhood is just slim.
Right. So, matter of fact, with that point, how was it you've been exposed to such a range of genres and musical types that your peers of your age group when you was coming up, what they was into versus what you was into? Because I remember once I bought a cassette of Brand Newman's, and I had a friend who was listening to Too Short, and he was like, "What is this garbage you listen to?" You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to Brand Newman, and this is not even a joke. Maybe a week and a half later, he heard Slow Down, and he was like, man, that song Slow Down is dope. I said, dude, that's the cassette you was just ragging me about. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm feeling like, oh, I'm ahead of time. I'm even, you know what I'm saying? Like, these cats not even on it. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden they get on it when it becomes popular.
Yeah.
So how was that? The whole scenario with being, having a broad range of genres that you listen to.
There's no one clear answer. I think for one, the drive and the passion to just keep finding new music, it was relentless. Mm-hmm. Then two, I think once again, like I said before, I think just my love for percussions, because I don't even think I really knew samba music or Afrobeat back then, but it just kind of instinctively found. I think it found me.
Right. It definitely found me.
I think it found me, and I was like, I even remember the first so quote unquote Brazilian record I bought, and I heard the drum rhythms, mm-hmm. and I don't even think I knew it was called samba then, but it was just like the. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Right.
And to the point, I started wondering, dang, why hip hop artists aren't using this? Why house DJs and house artists aren't using it? I mean, they're doing it now, mm-hmm. but I was like,
but early on,
yeah, cause I just felt like, and no disrespect to the classic funk 45s, but it was like we've been there, done that,
right?
And I was just like, I felt like if you're a good DJ, a good producer, a good MC, you would want to expose yourself to them sounds,
Especially the level of energy that comes out of that music.
That's supposed.
Yeah.
The Afro psych stuff, and it's like, I think when we start talking about rock music, we forget how heavy the continent of Africa was in that. Like, that was like,
right.
That was a huge thing. That fuzz rock, it's like,
right. Yeah, I mean, I listen to cats out of there are a lot of Nigeria, the Congo, doing rock. I mean, even Sierra Leone. I mean, like some of the music, man, it's just. I mean, even it seems to me like even they was accenting the bass line more so than we were at the time that they was doing it. We later had it. You hear James Brown do it. Matter of fact, James Brown got sued one time for taking one of the beats from one of the African cats. But that whole bass line heavy thing that we find in funk, I mean, I don't know, who influenced who on that part of it.
Yeah, the origin story.
Yeah, but it's I've definitely heard it in a lot of that music where we wasn't so heavy on the bass line until you started getting into James Brown and some of the Parliament stuff. Larry Graham and people like that. But
and maybe who knows? Because I think this will be a debate that's always ongoing. Because maybe the two sides kind of met at the same time. Who knows?